I'm Andrew Francis, esteemed baker. Today we're gonna be making peach pie. It's gonna be fucking awesome! The first order of business, we're making a peach mimosa. Wow. Top it off with a bit of OJ. Oh yeah, that's good. Let's get sugared up! Woo! Oh yeah, I feel that liquor soaking in. When you put a peach in your mouth and you're not wet, then there's something wrong. Oh yeah. All right, now that we have peeled and cut our peaches, I'm gonna put them into another bowl. We're gonna combine them with half a cup of white sugar, a fourth of a cup of brown sugar. Gently mix in the sugar to evenly coat our peaches. We're gonna take our other bowl, put a strainer on top so that we can reserve our juices, pour those peaches in there. And we're gonna let this sit for about an hour to give adequate drainage time. This guy's baking a pie, so maybe he's a little gay. You're gay, because you're watching me bake this pie. So let's weigh out our flour. It's going to be 12.5 ounces, and we're gonna put 2/3 of that into our blender, which is going to be 8.33 ounces. Finish it off with 1 teaspoon of salt. And now, it's blend time. We're gonna follow that up with 2.5 sticks of butter. Mmm, that's good. My dick can't relate, but my butter's getting soft. All right, now that we've blended our flour and butter into a paste, we are going to distribute it evenly around the bowl of the mixer. Add the remaining 1/3 of our flour to the flour butter paste. So that's gonna be another 4.2 ounces of flour. Now we're gonna add this amount of flour to the food processor. And then we're gonna add 3 ounces of cold water. And it better be cold. And we're just gonna fold the mixture over itself multiple times until we get a cohesive mixture that is able to be formed into a ball. Now we're gonna plop that down onto a lightly floured surface. Now that we've divided our pie dough in half, we're gonna form it into round discs. Play around with it, you know, give it a little squeeze, you know, play with yourself, play with it. Wrap it tightly in saran wrap and refrigerate it 2 hours before we wanna bake. That keeps me going. So we're gonna take our peaches, and we've got quite a bit of juice here, which is good. We're gonna pour it into a little saucepan. That's really good stuff. And to this liquid, we're gonna add 3 tablespoons of cornstarch. Next, we're gonna add a 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg, a 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon. Finish that off with an 1/8 teaspoon of salt. Whisk that up into a nice homogenized mass. If you're not drinking, you're not cooking. And if you're not cooking, you might still be drinking. So now we're just gonna put it on the stove until we get a thickened mixture. Keep it at a medium-low temperature, stir it frequently. But while that mixture is coming together, we can start rolling our pie dough. You can just pull them out of the fridge. We're gonna lightly flour our bench so that our dough does not stick, because that would suck. I mean, you just like refrigerated your dough for two good hours and then you're just gonna like have it stick to your bench. You're fucked. I mean, there's kids in Africa who would rather starve than have their crust stick to their bench top. So don't let that happen. We're gonna lay our implant on the bench, and then we're gonna take our roller and we're gonna try to get it into a nice evenly distributed shape as we can. Now that we've rolled our dough, we're going to roll it up onto our pin so that we can transfer it to the pie dish. And you should be very careful not to tear it by treating it as if it were a delicate elder. Now make sure you're centered and unroll it into your pie dish. Drape it so that it falls gently into the dish. You don't want to be pressing too much here, otherwise you're going to get a tougher dough. We're going to refrigerate it for about another 10 minutes because as we've been rolling it, it's been warming up. And when we bake it, we want it to be cold. Roll out this top piece. Cooled our dough. Now we're gonna put our filling in, which is probably the most sexual part of the pie making experience. Oh yeah. All those good looking peaches just pouring into that crust. Just beautiful. And now we're going to attempt to drape our other pie crust over the top of this filling so that we can lock it in. And if you make this a really sexual experience, nobody will judge you because pie dough is inherently sexy. We now have to trim around the edges, have a little bit draping over here so that we can tuck under the edge to get a nice finish to our crust. Crimp the edges together so that we have one cohesive crust here at the edge. Cut several vent holes in the top so that the moisture can escape. Let's get this pie in the oven. We're gonna bake it at 425 for about 15 minutes. We're gonna bump the temperature down to 350 and then bake it for another 45 minutes. Pie's done!
Flavor explosion in my mouth, dude.
Oh, I fuck with it. I feel nice. It's good. I'm so done.